Park. A number of guests already have made their way here in anticipation for that all-important announcement in terms of the Matric results. Have the results increased this year, or will we see a slight decrease? That's the number that most people will be looking very, very closely to. And speaking about the guests that have been here, I saw that Reverend Frank Chikane is also amongst the people here, as well as the Labour Federation is also being presented here at today's fanatic and spontaneous event. I just want to give you a sense as well of the banners. As you can see, the banners here in the background. Well, there you have it. Umalusi is also represented here. Of course, they are the quality assurers. You have the chairperson who's just walked past. As you can see, the banners actually here standing in the background. These banners are the banners from the sponsors, and 21 top performers of the year 2017 will be awarded and be given prizes today. And we saw that the prizes amounting to plus minus 3 million rands. The prizes also include laptops from the various sponsors that are part of today's event. I'm just going to bring in the spokesperson of the Basic Education Department, Mhlanga, who joins us now. Quite an exciting moment. It's this moment that most people look forward to, the build-up of this moment in terms of what the announcement is going to be, what the result is going to be. And we were speaking to you earlier on, and you were saying that you've been doing this for 5 years, but the excitement never stops, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, you work so hard throughout the whole year, and you go through examinations, and you go through marking and capturing of the data and processing of such, and preparing it into a speech which the minister will deliver, unveiling the results in terms of the national average as well as the performance of provinces. It's not an easy thing. You don't sleep until it's all done. That's why to us this day comes as a huge relief. We're just waiting for her to deliver the speech so we can go and sleep.
But also the pupils, the plus minus 800,000 pupils who are part of these exams, who are sitting down, including the part-time pupils as well.
Absolutely. It's a huge number, and it means that as a system we need to make sure that in all the 6,800 centers, each and every candidate will get their correct question paper and answer sheet at the right time every day for a month, which means the duration of the examinations, there shouldn't be any errors. And it's something that maybe, you know, we take for granted, but it's a massive job, because after the process has been completed, we collect from them about 10 million answer sheets, which must then be processed into results. So it's a big job, but it's something that we've been able to do. And in 2017, we are grateful that we've been able to do it without any glitches whatsoever. There wasn't any leakages of question papers, and there wasn't any incidents of group copying reported anywhere, except for a few incidents of community protests which disrupted exams here and there. But even in those cases, we were able to relocate the candidates to write in other centers without compromising them. So we are happy that 2017 has been a great year, and we hope the results will reflect the same.
Speaking about incident-free, Umalusi also gave the department a thumbs up. I'd like you to take us back to the preparations that were put in place to make sure that you don't have another incident that took place like 2 years ago where the question papers were being leaked. I think Limpopo was also involved in something like that.
Yes, Limpopo became a problem in 2015 and 16, and we had to move into the province and try and understand what it is that was taking place there. We conducted our investigations, and we established that it was perhaps the amount of time that these papers were stored in centers around provinces, and that duration allowed people to become naughty and sell those papers. And we could see that some of them were distributed via WhatsApp, and others were sold in different ways. And we had to understand what it is that we needed to do. And we then cut down the number of days that the papers were stored at different centers in the district offices and elsewhere. And that has helped. But we also introduced something called just-in-time printing, which means we're printing much closer to the time of writing, also reducing the length of time the paper would be stored somewhere before the writing could take place. So that has helped a lot because, as you know, there were no leaks. But also, we believe the commitment of our officials in the education system also played a big part, but also the candidates themselves, because group copying is something that they do among themselves, perhaps with the assistance of a teacher or a principal somewhere. But in 2017, we didn't see any of those because we increased our monitoring as well. So all of those things assisted. So we believe that if we were to intensify such interventions in 2018, we are likely to see a similar scenario. Our hope is that it will remain the same into the future.
Just quickly, let's go back to 2 years ago, where after those leakages took place. Of course, it is a criminal charge, a criminal case rather. Would the department be able to state at this point whether they have been able to criminally convict anyone who has been found guilty of leaking these question papers?
Not yet. Investigations are still underway. We'll remember that we invited the Hawks to assist us with the investigations. They gathered evidence. They have such evidence, and they are making it part of their investigation. The matter is in court, and for those individuals who were involved and not part of the Hawks investigation, we are still conducting hearings, and we need to conclude those hearings as quickly as possible, because we don't want this lingering for too long, because it also means that some people still don't have their results from a year or two ago as a result of such transgressions. So it's something that we don't want to see happen. So we are happy that in 2018 we don't have anything overlapping from 2017. So we're happy that this year will start from a clean slate without any issues from the immediate past year. So those issues of 2015 and 16, those are still being dealt with, but we want to warn people that if you do something like this, we'll come down very hard on you, and it's going to be very painful, because there are still people who don't have their results and they can't progress in life because of those reasons.
Let's speak about the role of parents when it comes to matriculants, and what role they can play in ensuring that their children live up to expectations, but also adhere to the rules and regulations that govern how exams are conducted.
Well, it's support. Support is very important. I think as a parent, you need to take active interest in the life of your children's education. If you do that, then they will do the right thing as well. They need to know that they're being checked, they're being monitored. If you are invited to a school, sometimes you don't even need an invitation. If you feel you need to know how your children is performing, go to the school, maybe at least once a quarter, which means 4 times a year, outside the stated, the set meetings that are supposed to happen in school. Go there, talk to them, find out what's happening. If your child sees that you come to school to ask about his or her performance, they will take themselves and their education very seriously as well. So support is very important. Make sure that you support them. Don't put them under pressure. Rather create a conducive environment where they will be able to do their work. If you can do that, you will see you will go a long way, and the performance of your child will also improve.
But also parents as well, they make up the communities that we live in. And as you've mentioned early on, the slight incident that took place in terms of parents who are protesting, blocking kids from writing their prelims as well. What role do you think community leaders should be playing, or even political figures in this case?
There's a huge role that they can play, because with every community protest, there's a leader. And that leader lives in that community. And whenever there's a protest that will disrupt education, immediately the children of that village or that township or that city or that suburb are going to be affected. So we need to think about that and the impact on performance, because it tends to impact on them negatively, particularly psychologically as well as academically, because if you are losing learning and teaching time, it's very difficult to recover, always very difficult. We have 97 days for schooling in a year. If you lose one already, revision time is affected, assessment time is affected, teaching time is affected, and that affects curriculum coverage. If they don't finish, then clearly chances of them passing are very slim. So we urge our members of community that if there is a protest that you want to stage, make sure that it's far away from school. It takes a different format which will not interfere with learning and teaching, and that maybe, go stage a sit-in in the place where you feel someone needs to listen to you, but don't do it at a school, near school, because it's not good for your children. And in fact, think about what you're teaching our children. If disruption is going to be used for communicating, then they will do the same when they grow up.
But not only the disruption, but the destruction of property as well, and the amount that it takes to replace those structures.
That's even worse, because if you talk about Vuan, for example, those schools there have still not been fixed, because remember, this issue comes from 2016. In 2017, when we wanted to start fixing the schools, there was another shutdown again, which meant that we needed to stop whatever we're doing, and it affects planning. And those kids there are exposed to light, they're exposed to wind, they're exposed to the rain, all the elements, and that's not good for them, because the environment there is not conducive for learning and teaching. Our teachers cannot teach under such circumstances, and for young kids in primary schools, they become very sick, and we don't want that. So we really urge people to think about the impact of what you're doing, the impact of your actions. Will it really give you the results that you need? If the answer is no, then don't do it. it, because now, every time when results come out, we have rushed in the past 2 years to look at how the schools in Vuwani have performed, simply because of the length of the disruptions in that area. So it's something that should not be done. It has happened in other parts of the country as well, but it should be discouraged by everyone.
Well, certainly. Thank you so much. There you have it from Elijah Mhlanga speaking there about the results that we are expecting, but also, quite importantly, the issues that have been facing the department with regards to these service delivery protests, as well as the destruction of property, millions and millions of rands that have to be redirected to help rebuild these schooling institutions. And as Elijah has just indicated, in some schools in Vuwani, they haven't been able to rebuild the schools completely, and the learning environment is not conducive for some of these people. Certainly something that government must be looking into. I know that the ANC, just ahead of its elective conference or its national conference, were discussing this issue and how do they deal with this issue heading forward and make sure that it doesn't take place again. Well, later on, later this evening, after the announcement, we'll be sitting down with a cadre of the ANC, and that is the minister herself, Mam Angie, and we'll be speaking more about the political policies that have been put in place, and as well as some other proposals. One of those proposals include that history must be a compulsory subject across all grades, across every standard. That means that every class must have history as a subject. That has still not implemented, but also that each school must have at least one indigenous language that's being taught. We'll definitely be dealing and discussing those issues with the minister after she makes that announcement. The announcement is expected to be made around about 6 o'clock. We'll be live on SABC 1 as well. Expect you in studio.
Aldrin Sempi, of course, live from our SABC M1 studios right here in Auckland Park, where you just heard that Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga is due to release the national matric results at about 6 p.m. tonight. Much excitement as 21 top performers you've just heard will be on it. Now you can catch all that live on SABC.